What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is yours truly, Fitz, and one of the most hyped videos I ever make is the Silph League Arena Cup videos. One of the best Pokemon, I think, of each typing, the top 3. So we have Fire, we have Ice, we have Dragon, we have Steel. Now some of these are kind of no-brainers, and we already know the stats and how viable some of these Pokemon on the list are going to be, but we are going to fully extensively cover the new additions and then kind of gloss over the ones that we already know are really good. Some of these choices might surprise you. I've looked over these, and there are some other good choices, but I firmly believe some of these are some of the best choices you could possibly have. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, this is a rare one and a hard one to get, but I believe it is definitely one of the best steel types you could put on your team to, 1, maybe wall an opponent, or 2, throw off an opponent. Bastiodon is it's absolutely ridiculous, and we'll check out its stats here in a minute, but it maxes out just over 1500. And you gotta remember, there's ice types and fire types in this league, so depending on how you want to run your Bastiodon, depends on what quick move you want to use. If you really want to counter those fire types, you can go with Smackdown. If you really want to counter those ice types, you can go with Iron Tail. Now, Smackdown is a little bit better than Iron Tail, but the fact of the matter is, it does depend on how you want to use your Bastiodon. Now, here's where things get interesting, and this is how you can kind of choose a little bit too as well, is Flamethrower. Flamethrower is by far the fastest charging move Bastiodon has in its arsenal. So to use it as an ice counter would probably be a good idea, because you wouldn't want to use a flamethrower against a fire Pokemon, right? No, that really doesn't work too well. But Flamethrower is its first and best fast charge move, and then Stone Edge coming in second. But again, of course, Stone Edge could take out a Charizard in one hit if they have no shields, and you can tank a Charizard pretty well too. So it's a very good Pokemon. It's a wall, and here's why. Let's go ahead and look at the stats here. You're not going to be able to see the name because I'm over here blocking it, but this is Bastiodon. And I'm always going to use perfect IVs because it's the best comparison, I feel. 15, 15, 15 at level 38 gives your Bastiodon a 1496 CP with attack of 84, which is rather low, an insane defense and the highest defense in the Great League, 234. And an HP of 132 was actually not bad. That's a little bit better than average. Average is about 120, so 132 is actually pretty good. This is why Bastiodon is going to be, I won't say a must, but it can really throw an opponent off, especially if one of their best Pokemon, like Lucario, is done for. So if their best Pokemon is gone, and you have this to throw out, this is a great wall. This is a great Pokemon to use if you don't have any shields to finish the rest of your opponent's Pokemon, if they don't have any shields as well, because Bastiodon will be able to take the hits. I have a shield on, and I haven't evolved it yet, or tried it out, or powered it up. So I'm curious to know if you guys have tried out Bastiodon. Please let me know in the comments down below if you've like near maxed one out and tried it in PvP. I want to know how tanky it is, but the stats are phenomenal. Now, let's go into the next steel type, Lucario. Okay, so this is another extremely rare Pokemon, and I don't know if you're seeing a pattern here, but some of the best Pokemon are extremely rare. And you have to have Lucario, and it's because of Power Up Punch. Power Up Punch isn't on here, and I don't know why. But first of all, it's Counter. Counter is a really good move. We all know why Counter is so good. Counter is going to be super effective to Steel and to Ice types. So boom, right there. And then you want to run Shadow Ball, because Shadow Ball is a very quick charging move for a 2-bar charge move in PvP, and it charges up really fast too. Well, it's not a 2-bar move, I always say that, but it's a very quick charging move for PvP, doing 100 damage, which is insane. And this is good to counter against Alola Marowak, although Alola Marowak can actually defeat a Lucario with a 2-shield situation, or even a 1-shield situation. As far as Power Up Punch goes, you guys have probably heard Power Up Punch does like 40 or 45 damage. I can't remember offhand. I think it's 40. And it boosts your attack by like 20%. So the fact that Power Up Punch is that ridiculous, that powerful, makes Lucario a really good Pokemon to throw out first. Deal damage, destroy your opponents, get the first Pokemon or the second one out of there. Have shields. Make your Lucario last. Because Power Up Punch charges up extremely fast. It boosts your attack, which means your quick move is going to do more damage. and you're able to survive the battle right off the gates, getting rid of your opponent's shields, and probably yours too, which makes sense, but you're really going to destroy your opponent throwing out Lucario first. So go ahead and look up Lucario here. Lucario, here we go. So 15, 15, 15 at level 19 gives you 1467 with an attack of 146. That's really high, actually. Defense of 92 and an HP of 108. So it is pretty squishy, but like I said, you want to throw it out first. You want to, if you waste shields, that's fine, because you're going to get off a power-up punch. Whether it lands or not, boost your attack by 20%. That means your counter, your quick move's doing 20% more damage as well, on top of stab, and on top of super effective damage, depending on what Pokemon you're going up against. So Lucario is a monster. It reminds me of a really steroided Gengar glass cannon. Like, it's ridiculous. So Lucario is basically a must at this point. Now the next one's Magneton, and we're kind of a little aware already of how good Magneton is, but let's go ahead and go over it. I won't go over the stats from the sheet, because we know it's a really good Pokemon. So here's the deal. The fast moves, they were all good. They're all good. Their energy per turn is good. The damage is pretty good. Personally, I like Spark. Spark does a little bit more damage to Charge Beam, and it still has good EPT. Where things get really interesting, and what I strongly prefer, is if you have a Legacy Discharge Magneton, you're definitely going to want to use this. You're doing super effective damage against Charizard, for example, because it's an electric type. Any flying type you come across, like if you come across a Skarmory, because it's steel and flying, you're doing super effective damage right there. Other than that, you're doing super effective damage against ice types here. Fairy as well, but I don't think you're really a counter any. And then you have, you would do neutral damage in this case against a Bastiodon. Yeah, you do basically neutral damage. So Magnet Bomb charges up really fast, has a good damage output with 70 damage. That's good. That's good for really quick charging PvP move. We know that. If a move can charge up extremely fast and do that kind of damage, that's ridiculous. But nonetheless, Discharge, it's not a must, it's not a deal breaker, but out of the steel types that I looked over, maybe besides Steelix, because I didn't look into Steelix, Steelix is kind of iffy to me personally, but that's one that could have made this list. It's definitely not a bad Pokemon, you could use it. But Magneton is one of the better steel types for sure. Is it better than Lucario? I don't think so. Is it better than Bastiodon? I don't think so as well. But let's go ahead and move on to the ice types. Now Sealeo is one that should probably make it into your Tempest Cup. I really didn't cover it too extensively, but Sealeo actually is a good Pokemon. Let's go ahead and look at the stats first to kind of lay the foundation. Sealeo is pretty good. So 15, 15, 15 gives you a 31 level with 1494 CP, attack 112, defense 108, HP 163. So it's very tanky and it can deal pretty decent damage. But what's interesting and kind of what scares me at the same time is its moves, only because Powder Snow is still pretty viable because it has extremely high EPT. EPT is more important in this case than dealing some good damage. Because Powder Snow, I'll give you another example, against Charizard would do neutral damage, and then you're going to charge out Body Slam extremely fast. You're going to probably get off 2 Body Slams to Charizard's 1.5 Blast Birds, for example. But the problem with Body Slam is if you come across, well here, let's just look here. If you come across a Steel or Rock type, not looking good. You could come across a Alolan Marowak. That's definitely not looking good. So it's a little scary to use Sealeo in certain situations. This would be good against Altaria, because you come across an Altaria, Flygon, maybe even Skarmory using Powder Snow, doing some decent damage. It's scary because of the fact that you have Lucario that could destroy you. You could have even Magneton with electric moves. Still, even though I mentioned the Charizard, depending on how many shields your opponent has, Charizard could be a threat, possibly, if you have Powder Snow as opposed to Water Gun. It's interesting. You see where I'm coming from. So, Sealeo, great Pokemon, one of the better ice types. Lapras kind of falls in the same category, only it has Surf, so maybe Lapras could be better. Actually, you could substitute this and have Water Gun and Surf for Lapras. But Sealeo does get off those Body Slams extremely fast, and if you find yourself in a neutral DPS situation, Sealeo is going to absolutely murder whatever Pokemon it's going up against. So I had to throw it in there because of that fact. It's ridiculous how many times you'll get a body slam off before you die. I'm talking 3 or 4. It's insane. So next up's Piloswine. Another Pokemon you guys should be familiar with. The stats are pretty good. Not going to go over it. Piloswine has really good moves. And there's a reason for this. Powder Snow, again, absolutely without a doubt, you need it. Avalanche, absolutely without a doubt, you're going to need it. It powers up extremely fast. Now here's where things get interesting. You could use Stone Edge to do super effective damage, cover your fire, your own ice, your own typing, ice, and flying. So that means you could do really high neutral damage against Skarmory. You could destroy Charizard or any other fire types, or do neutral damage to a fire and fighting type like Monferno or Combusken or Blaziken. You probably won't come across very many ground types. And then, of course, like I said, any ice types. Any ice types. So if you throw out a Piloswine going up against a Lapras, because of your Powder Snow charges up pretty quickly, you might get a Stone Edge off first. I kind of doubt it, but still. It's kind of scary. Depends on your situation. But you could run Stone Edge, or you could run Bulldoze. Bulldoze charges up kind of quickly too, but it's for a different reason. You would use Bulldoze to do super effective damage against any steel types, any rock types. So if you go up against a Bastiodon, oh buddy, that's going to be an interesting situation. I haven't tested it yet, but fire types, electric types, so it depends on what you want to use it for. Avalanche is a must only because it's the fastest charging move out of these 3. So you definitely, if you want to melt at least 1 shield, if your opponent has 1 shield left, go with Avalanche, you have to. But if you unlock a second move, depends on what you think your opponent's going to throw at you. Depends on your community, how your community plays, how people play around you. If you think Stone Edge is going to do you more good, go for it. But if you think Bulldoze is going to do you more good because of these kind of coverages, it all depends on what you want to cover the most. So, Stone Edge is a great choice, so is Bulldoze. It's up to you. I can't really pinpoint one down because there's a lot of Pokemon that are available in this tournament, and a lot of moves can cover one or the other side of the spectrum. Now, Jinx. I'm actually going to go ahead and type in Jinx's stats because I feel like a lot of people really aren't familiar. So 15, 15, 15 with 20.5 level, 1496 CP, attack of whopping 143. That's up there with Lucario. Defense 100, HP 107. Now, this is where things get interesting. When I run Frost Breath, without a doubt, I made the mistake of running Confusion. No, Frost Breath. Now, if you have an Ice Punch, congratulations. That's awesome. I would run Ice Punch. If you don't, run Avalanche. Then the next move depends. Draining Kiss is pretty good, so is Psyshock. Only thing is, with Psyshock, is you're going to do heavy neutral damage against Lucario. Because you're doing super effective and then not very, so you're going to do neutral. And you're doing a move that does stab. Same type attack bonus. There's a 20% buff to your attacks. Now Fairy, same difference, but no stab. So it kind of just eliminated what move you should do, right? Because if you throw Jinx against Lucario, you're doing super effective against fighting and not steel, but Psyshock does more damage. There you go. And plus this does neutral damage to pretty much everything else in the tournament. So yeah, you want to run Avalanche to get rid of any dragon types or flying types you come across. Hell, even any ground types. Well, there's a lot of dual types. Like if you go against Piloswine, it's going to do neutral damage. You go against Charizard, it's going to do neutral damage. That's good. That's good. Just kind of an example. So, Frost Breath, Avalanche, Psyshock, or if you have access, Frost Breath, Ice Punch, Psyshock. There you go. Now next up's Dragonair. And the reason why I went with a pure Dragon type is because of only having one weakness, right? So Dragonair is interesting. You go with Dragon Breath. Dragon Breath does neutral damage to everything else except Fairy and Steel. So if you go against Steel type, it's kind of going to suck. But Dragon Breath is also a really good move with decent EPT and a really good damage output. Aqua Tail charges up extremely fast. You're going to destroy Bastiodon, Piloswine, any fire types. Aqua Tail is ridiculous. Dragon Breath and Aqua Tail coupled together, you're going to get your charge move off faster than your opponent. So that's what makes this Pokemon so good. You could couple this with Dragon Pulse if you're towards the end of the match. and you're gonna get your move off first, and they don't have any shields. Dragon Pulse will come in handy for some heavy stab, neutral DPS. But Dragon Breath, Aqua Tail have to be a must if you want to run Dragonair. Dragonair is a really good Pokemon. Let's just go ahead and go over the stats real quick here. What just happened? Dragonair. Oh, I'm typing wrong. Dragonair. There we go. So at 15, 15, 15, level 29, 1475, 128, 107, 123. Not bad. Kingdra. Not going to go over the stats. We know how good Kingdra is. Let's just go over the moves real quick. You want on Dragon Breath, Outrage, probably Blizzard. Yeah. Dragon Breath, Outrage, Blizzard. That's it. Next is Shogun. Why Shogun? Video's over 16 minutes long. So Dragon Breath, Flamethrower to cover Ice types and Steel types. There you go. Flamethrower and probably Twister. Twister charges up really fast, does a decent amount of damage. So Dragon Breath, Flamethrower, and Twister. And the stats are around the same as Dragonair, so I'm not going to show them. They're very, very similar. It's just the moves that differ. So you can see the reason why you use Shogun. You can see the reason why you use Dragonair. They kind of complement both sides of the spectrum of the tournament. Next up's Charizard. We know why Charizard's good. Not going to cover the stats. Anything, here's one thing that's interesting. Anything with Fire Spin, I looked this up and I talked to one of the Go Hub writers about it. Anything with Fire Spin and you have one shield will take out Lucario without using your charge move. Fire Spin is such a good move that it will take out Lucario as long as you have one shield. Because Lucario is going to hit you with a power-up punch, you shield it once, just your fast move alone for Fire Spin will take out Lucario. So keep that in mind. You'll want to run Blast Burn and Dragon Claw. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't have a Blast Burn Charizard, just don't even try it. Next up is Marowak. You guys should be familiar with this Pokemon and its stats, but we can go over it real quick. You want to run Hex, Shadow Ball, Bone Club. Bone Club charges up really fast, gives you that Steel type coverage, that Rock type coverage. Goodbye Bastiodon. Gives you that Fire coverage, that Electric coverage. It's absolutely insane. So you want to go Bone Club and then Shadow Ball just for good measure. And it does stab anyway. So let's go ahead and look at Alolan Marowak. At 15, 15, 15 at 28.5 level. 1494, 113, 143, 121. Pretty well rounded and kind of tanky with that defense there. And lastly, for the fire types, Torkoal. Torkoal is kind of a interesting choice. It's because of Fire Spin. I told you it could take out Lucario as long as it has one shield. You'd want to run Overheat and Earthquake. This is a Pokemon you would throw at the end of the battle, depending on what your opponent has, obviously. There isn't really a good third fire type option. There is Kabuskin, there is Monferno, there is Blaziken. There really isn't a good third fire type to go with. So this one's actually entirely up to you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But there you guys have it. That's it for the Kingdom Cup. I'm excited for this one. This one's very interesting, but it seems like the good Pokemon are really narrowed down this time around. There's not a huge variety. If there's any other Pokemon you guys think that deserve to be on the list, or you think they could be pretty good, let me know. Smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Be a part of the Fitz City fam. That's your boy Fitz City. I'm signing off. See you guys in the next Pokemon Go video.